Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this cabinet meeting on today's date, the 14th of April, 2026. Nice to see you all this lovely day. The first item on this agenda is the apologies for absence. I know we have apologies from Councillor Brown, Councillor Barley, and Councillor Toy. The second item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held the 9th of March. Were there any questions on those minutes or points of clarification, any changes required? If not, I will propose they're accepted, and that's seconded by Councillor Withington, and I presume all of those in favour. Yeah. I'm not aware of any public questions or statements sent to us. So item 4 is declarations of interest on items on the agenda. Presume there are none. And item 5, we have no items of urgent business. Item 6 is member questions. Can I confirm if there are any member questions at this stage? No. Item 7 would be recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, but there were no recommendations. And item 8 is recommendations from full council in respect of the motion taken there in respect of fly tipping. So I don't know if there's anything briefly you wanted to say, Councillor Ringham, on this.
Nothing to say, although I'm happy to propose we accept the recommendation from full council.
And I would be happy to second that, subject to any further statements or comments. Can we take a vote of all of those in favour of accepting the recommendation, please? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Item 9 is the implementation of the Renters' Rights Act, 2025, and associated policies. Who's leading?
I'll say a couple of very brief sentences. That's half of them already. Thank you. This paper is in effect keeping pace with national legislation, which we must adopt policies with regards to this by the 1st of May. If there are any technical questions, I'm pleased to say we've got officers in attendance who might be able to answer them. And I'll thank them for their hard work on this. I know that it's something that is something of a step into the unknown, but it's something that is really welcome, and I'm happy to propose it. Subject to any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Ringham. So you wish to say?
I don't think I can add an awful lot more to that. It really is a continuation of, we do work at the moment, preventative work and other bits and pieces, but this covers the new legislation that will be additional. And at the moment, we don't know until it rolls out how much additional there will be. But, the recommendation is to approve the policy. And, it's been a lot of hard work for the officers. We're very grateful for the work that's been done, basically. And as we move forward, we will keep you updated with how it's going. Thanks.
Absolutely, Councillor Boyles. Thank you. Well, I'd certainly add my voice to thanks to officers who have been undertaking preparation for the implementation of the Renters' Rights Act, and I feel confident that we've got such a good baseline already in terms of some of the work that colleagues are doing across the organisation in the communities, and looking at the standards of rental properties, for instance. And I know this is a big change, but I think we are starting from a good position, and we've got obviously members of staff who are extremely experienced already, and I know they will adapt to these changes very well. So, I presume proposed seconded. Were there any other, comments or anything else, anyone wanted to say in respect of this item? Okay. If that's the case, then, can we take a vote of all of those, in favour of accepting the recommendations which are set out, A to D on the front sheet? All those in favour, please. Yeah, that is unanimous. Thank you. Item 10 is the local authority housing fund, round 4 and purchase of further temporary accommodation. Councillor Boyle.
Thank you. Yes, I'm delighted to bring item 10 to you. NNDC's negotiated a higher level of grant funding for 26-27 in round 4 of the government local authority housing fund. And this is a proposal to accept the grant of 1.336 million to help purchase another 9 units rather of temporary accommodation for homeless households. And the proposal is for us to agree to accept the funding for these 9 further units, and includes any support resources required in order to carry out the purchases and look after them. And also delegated authority to the Section 151 officer to agree the actual purchases, so it doesn't have to keep coming back to and from cabinet. Yeah, it's really exciting. Every house matters, and you know this does actually make a difference, as we've known over time. And yeah, it's a good amount of money. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, certainly, and I think this is exciting. This is a really good opportunity again, but I think in securing round 4 of the funding, the grant, you know, recognises the successes that we have already secured in the previous 3. And in addition, of course, to the use of the second homes premium and how that is being utilised, and this is obviously very significant on an individual level for the people, for the households that this will benefit, but of course it has a strategic impact as well overall. Were there any comments or queries in respect of this item? No, any further statements? No. Okay. Proposed by Councillor Boyle. Can I have seconded by Councillor Shires? And a vote in favour, please, of accepting the recommendation set out in the friendship, and that is unanimous again. Thank you. Item 11 is the Fakenham Leisure. Thank you all. Fakenham Leisure and Sports Hub progress update. And Councillor Withington, go ahead.
Thank you. I think it's probably best if I go straight to Officer Hems, actually, who can give any information that's required at this stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, the report's before you. I'm not intending to go through it line by line. I think the main summary is that construction work, I'm sorry, I've got a terrible cold, so you'll have to bear with me whilst I snuffle. Construction work is progressing. We started on time. I would say that it's not without challenges in terms of the scheduling of work, because DDI, who are the contractor, had to reprofile work in order to deal with issues as they've arose that are outside of their control. So one of the most recent ones has been that's detailed in here, has been about the steel work that's required to build the extension to the current sports centre, which there were some issues in terms of, once the contract price had been received, some changes that were made because of the willingness of their supplier to warrant the quality of the paint finish. I'm pleased to say that's now resolved, and actually over the weekend I popped round there, and the steel work was or before the weekend, steelwork was going up, and I think is now complete. So in general, the build is on time, subject to that reprofiling of work. We've included in there the extension or the improvement to the UK Power Network substation. So we've taken the maximum amount of power to the site that we're able to, without then upgrading the wiring system or the supply system of UK Power Networks to the site. So that has given us some capacity. The public sector decarbonisation scheme is now being fully built into the scheme. So we're just waiting back for the final changes to the mechanical and electrical design to make sure that is fully encompassed. One of the issues associated with that change to the public sector decarbonisation scheme is that they've had to change some of the design around a wet system underfloor heating in part to an electrical system. That in turn has taken some of the capacity away from the substation, but still manageable. And the 3G pitch process, which is as many of you will recall, because of the timetabling that we had to the original government deadlines, we decoupled from the original planning application. We've now submitted a planning application for the 3G pitch as part of the application process to Football Foundation for grant funding. And I'm delighted to say that we have received confirmation from the Football Foundation that they have given us a capital grant for the provision of the 3G pitch. It's actually slightly above the normal percentage funding level that they would work to, and it is within the parameters of what we originally put in as our match funding for the scheme. So there's no additional cost programmed for that. In terms of cash flow, we're a bit lower because the steel work was some of the expensive stuff, but now they've put the steels in, we expect that to catch back up again. And we have the way in which government has funded it has meant that we've had a lot of money in up front for it, which we've been working our way through. So the next payment we are expecting, I think it's we've got to submit our figures in May, and then we'll have a further release of funds that should take us pretty much through to the end of the project. Effectively, we have within our funding a contingency amount, which I'm pleased to say we are not significantly using so far. We have identified some works to the roof and guttering. What we don't want to do is end up with a position where effectively we put all this nice new shiny stuff in and the roof leaks and spoils it. So we've agreed to that work being done, and effectively because of the way the contract with Everyone Active is written, we've had discussions with them about splitting the cost between us so that it's not fully district council's expense. But even then, we're still well within our contingency amount. You'll see from the report there are quite a lot of risks associated with various bits. They're all being managed and mitigated where possible. I think, to be honest with you, the biggest risk at the moment is associated with the 3G pitch planning permission, where effectively there is no certainty over that. There is this issue, as I've explained to previous cabinet meetings, associated with the Football Foundation. We've got the Football Foundation funding, but we still have an objection to the planning from Sport England that we had previously. That's why we decoupled the two projects in the first place. That remains in place, so we've got to overcome that and some issues in terms of parking on site, but we're in that process now. Of trying to work through those issues. And you'll see from the report there's lots of engagement going on, so we're reporting regularly on progress on site. but also colleagues have been finding content that we can do around. So there's been a piece around one of the founder members of the Fakenham Swimming Club, who has done a really nice piece about wanting to go back swimming and using the pool, etc. And there's another story coming forward because DDI have taken on a T-level student as an apprentice. So his apprenticeship will be partly at college, partly on site. So he's actually from Fakenham, and that will be publicised shortly. So some really good news coming out of that. So I'm happy to take any questions that people have, but that's just by way of an update on progress.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Hems. And certainly it's wonderful to see this coming together. Certain relish about, well, certain, I think, thought, I remember seeing some in Fakenham critical or skeptical that this would ever really happen in reality. And obviously we're now seeing it together. So it's really great we've been able to provide this facility for Fakenham and obviously so many surrounding villages. It will, I've no doubt, exceed our expectations as our other facilities have continued to do, and as been recognised, I think, in terms of some of the communications activity, it's been long sought after. So many people obviously involved in this project, both internally and externally, and certainly welcome engagement and support with those people, particularly, you know, bodies like the Town Council who have helped us ensure the continued progress towards the eventual opening of this new facility. So there's no actions as such here, just to note, but can I just ask if there are any questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Hems. And then we move on to the related item, the acceptance of the grant for the 3G pension travelling Fakenham. Councillor Whittington.
Well, Officer Hems has alluded to some of the issues and reasons that this has come forward, but I think it's quite clear in the options considered, the recommendations and the reasons why we're doing this, that, you know, why this decision has come forward. And I, on a personal level, I think this is an important part of this project. And therefore I'm happy to propose it, and I hope Cabinet will support it.
Yeah, certainly we will. And on this occasion, I'll be happy to second the recommendations. And yeah, this is tremendous news, really, in terms of securing this grant, and yeah, many years of sports activity will, of course, occur on this pitch, and many thousands of different users. So it's very welcome indeed. So you want to come back?
Can I come back, please? And it's remiss of me. I should have thanked officers actually for the enormous amount of work that's gone into persevering with this application. They're not the easiest to do, the Football Foundation ones, and you have to have a lot of things in place. So they really have gone above and beyond for this one. So I would like that noted and thanked.
Yeah,
Thanked
yeah,
for that.
and certainly our recent experience in terms of the provision at Cromer has done extremely well, and no doubt that this one will too. And not every community is benefiting from these trickle down grants, and you know where they come from in terms of government and the Premier League. And you know, it is, as you say, down to the work within this organisation that has achieved that. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a local member, I'd just like to add my thanks to all of those who did work to secure this grant. It's wonderful news. It helps create a sporting centre of excellence with the nearby fitness club and swimming pool. I'm sure it'll be well used by the neighbouring academy. We have a thriving football club as well, who I know are looking forward to it being built. And indeed, it'll be open for plenty of other sports teams as well. So absolutely terrific news for Fakenham. So thank you.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so we have the proposal, the recommendations to accept the grant proposed and seconded, and obviously we will need to authorise just to sign the agreements and progress further. Were there any final questions or points before we move to the vote on these recommendations? If not, then can I take a vote of all those in favour, please? No, it's unanimous. Brilliant. Item 13 is the retention of public toilet provision at station approach in Sheringham. Councillor Ringer.
Thank you very much. Most of the background to this set of circumstances is outlined in the paper. I just wanted to sort of elaborate a little bit, I think, on some of the anxiety locally that there'd be a loss of provision in this part of Sheringham. Obviously, it's very close to a large car park, the mainline railway station. When the county council sort themselves out, hopefully a transport hub. And the loss of that provision in this location would be of significant detriment, not just to local people, but the tourism economy as well. I think it's a positive step that we've been able to secure the continuity of provision here. I'd like to thank officers and the North Norfolk Railway for their constructive dialogue on this. Hopefully we can take this forward and people can continue to use those facilities.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Ringer. And certainly thanks to Mr. Hems for leading on the discussions with North Norfolk Railway. I've got to say there were certainly some of the easiest negotiations that I've had, because obviously it was a concern to residents and possibly some visitors' businesses in respect to the provision of these facilities. And you know, I suppose it's reassurance to everyone that, you know, we certainly recognise that the role they play there economically, in a sense as well. And that's of course why we provide these discretionary facilities, and recognising the role they the role they play in helping it's provision of the facilities that help the local economy. So I should say there are some exempt papers in the back, and I've always got to say, you know, if you obviously want to discuss anything there, but that is just contract information in respect of similar facilities. But if you want to discuss any of that, we obviously have to go into part 2, and perhaps that can be avoided. But can I ask if anyone else wishes to say anything? Councillor Willing, go ahead.
I just would like to say a huge thank you for bringing this recommendation forward, and I hope people will agree with it, because it is, as Councillor Adams has referred to, an enormous impact on Sheringham, both the residents and visitors, if we lose facilities which are in effect the main facilities for the town, and would leave the upper end of the town and the main town centre without toilet provision. So, you know, it is a huge impact, and it is very much appreciated if Cabinet feel they can support this, and I hope very much that they can.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions or comments?
Could I just point members to Cabinet to the second recommendation around a steer on the period in years that you'd wish the agreement to be for, because I can one of the discussions I have had with North Norfolk Railway is around sort of how long we look at having that agreement for, and it's a question of, you know, do you want to go as long as possible a period as you're able to?
That would be my personal preference. Obviously there's a ceiling there somewhere, but you know, I think that initially we were talking about what was how many years were we talking about initially, Steve? Sorry.
I mean, I've had discussions with North Norfolk Railway on periods of 10, 15, even potentially 25 years.
Yeah.
It's just a question of what your preference as Cabinet would be, recognising that local government reorganisation is coming, etc. But you know, whether we look at a longer period with break clauses in it.
I think you know that there needs to be some breaks to deal with potential for at least there could be temporary changes in the provision in the long term around refurbishments and things like that that are needed. We're dealing with the here and the now, but the ultimate goal here is obviously to secure these facilities for the longer term. So, sorry, you wanted to suggest something? Go ahead.
It's just about how we secure the provision, but also how we're able to look at that as we go forward. So I think I remember we discussed 10 or 15 years, with the preference being 15, with potential break clauses or reviews in 5-year periods. That was my understanding of the conversations that we've had previously about it, and I'd be very content with that because it both secures the provision and protects the organisation if we need to have further conversations about it.
Okay, so the suggestion was in terms of 50. Are you happy with that? Okay. All right then. If that's acceptable, then can we take a vote on that basis, accepting the recommendation and suggest a 15-year period? That's unanimous.
And Councillor Adams, just before you move on, thank you for your kind words about me negotiating with North Norfolk Railway, but it would be unfair of me to not reflect on just how accommodating North Norfolk Railway have been in these discussions. As you said, I sat in a meeting with them expecting to have to put a case forward, but was met with a really positive and engaging approach. And they, throughout the discussions we've had, have been completely recognising of the importance of those toilets to Sheringham on the wide basis. So I just wanted to reflect that to Cabinet that yes, obviously I've had conversations with them, but they have been exceptionally easy conversations to have.
Yeah, and certainly they are an important partner in this district, and recognising all that they are achieving in Sheringham in the immediate locality. It is an important part of Norfolk, so I'm certainly grateful to them for that. Okay, with that done, then there's no reason to exclude members of the public, which is item 14, and we don't need to deal with item 15, which is private business. So I thank you all for your attendance today, and